Okay, so let's move on to our final topic, which is Crimson Desert. Now, I know nothing about this, so please enlighten me. Please
It
guide
is a
me.
game
all
that
I know,
champions gender equality.
all I
Okay.
know is what Yahtzee had to say about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't seen the aspect of promoting gender equality, but
Yeah, that's
so
definitely never been done before.
Actually, it's very hard to find a game that does. Usually, you're posted as a bad guy. And God help me, Fallout 3, with its goddamn camp of invincible children. We're not going down that rabbit hole. No, moving on, moving on. So, yes, Crimson Desert is a game that I regrettably know very little about. Apart from it looks very nice, and the combat seems kind of fun.
Okay, let me see.
So we have as a third subject a game no one has played or knows much at all about.
I
Who
wouldn't say no.
suggested this?
I might have suggested it because I was curious if other people had played it, and it's funny that um, the people who I talk to that are interested or but they're slightly interested. They played The Witcher before, and it's like I'm interested in this, but why are there dragons and mechs involved in this? Why is there a Legend of Zelda Sky City or Sky Ruins above this floating continent? So it's one of those games that's very hard to pin down, and I don't think necessarily that any of us need to have necessarily played it. It would help for the purposes of the stream to probably bring up some images. You could probably just
Yeah.
do a Google
Yeah,
image search or something like
I've got
that.
the website up right
But
here.
It sounds
uh,
like kitchen sink fantasy,
exactly. So it looks like someone approached
which isn't
a
necessarily a bad
game.
thing.
It's not a bad thing, but the problem is if you got no cohesive design. So I'm actually interested in Crimson Desert just from a design aspect, just from
Hmm.
a what actually binds this together, and I'm not seeing anything that binds this together. I've watched let's plays while I'm doing other stuff, and it just there will be you're this epic hero that somehow was reincarnated by the sky ravens or something, the weird people in the sky for some purpose to walk their path, and then you're helping some guy clean out his chimney. It's what? Wait, what? The strangeness of the design of deciding to lump in normal side quests as if they should be primary quests. Uh, the the structure of the UI, it's all very confusing, and it makes me wonder not only why this was made, but how. Like how is the structure of the company? And that's something I
Some
haven't.
people with a lot of money had a lot of people who all said it would be cool if we also had this thing from this game that I like, and there was no one swinging an axe and saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, but no, but.
Yeah, it's definitely it does have a little bit of that aspect of that toxic positivity, that aspect of uh, people are contributing ideas and nobody's there saying no. And sometimes you need to have that. I believe in
There's a lack of Tyrannosauruses to eat the children.
This is what I'm
yes.
talking about for the invincible cells I sometimes come across. It's either this one. I need to call this thing over here.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm gonna stop streaming because it's screwing up the feed for the live stream. But yeah, it looks like a very complicated game. It looks like a very kitchen sink game. But one of the other things is this art style just does not. I don't connect. I've never connected with this kind of art style. Like I'm looking at it, and thinking, yeah, I don't really want to play this game.
Well,
It might
to
be
cut you off,
really
that's
nice,
going to be a subjective thing.
but
It's like for me, it's voxel art, not Minecraft, but actual sandpaper on my eyes to look at it. Voxel art. It's like,
Okay, we got some more mechanics from Breath of the Wild. Was this game? Who made this game, and were they Japanese
what's
or
the pedigree?
Korean company? Yeah, because I'm getting the feeling. You
I think
mentioned
they
the
were
quest. Okay, Korean. So that might be it. So I should explain myself. So the East Asian games tend to have this odd
Yeah.
habit of just having mundane things happen even while the plot is fairly intense and the plot demands a lot more of you than you're giving because you're busy doing side quests while the world is ending or whatever. They do have a habit of doing that. It's a problem I've seen in some D&D campaigns where the world is ending. What are we doing wasting time helping out this woman clean her chimney?
Yeah.
And as you say, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing a lot of mechanics from other games. I'm seeing certain zones that it feels like when people were it feels kind of like when they were trying to make Cyberpunk Night City, and it kind of felt like each area was its own separate thing that just got stitched together. Like, I like this whole look of these ancient, odd-looking temples that have these robots that still work somehow. Like, okay, cool, that's pretty nice. And we could have like this
arrow being out of the map. I can't figure out where it is. There it is.
Like, I can get behind that. It's a game I'll definitely need to check out. But it does feel like something, I don't know, not something I've played before. The Witcher is a pretty good example to bring up, as you did.
Well, see, and then the problem with that is that people, when they see it and they see The Witcher, they're kind of expecting the Witcher. If you see vanilla ice cream, you're not expecting chocolate. So when people then start the game, from the reviews that I've seen, from all the feedback that I've been getting, is that people will play this. The control scheme is horrible, whether it's played on a keyboard or a controller. The whole kitchen sink has been thrown into this. And yes, to verify it, it was a Korean studio that developed this. And I have kind of seen this before where they will sometimes, their way of stitching together certain content can be kind of jagged, to put it mildly. So
yeah, I love the Koreans, but they do have a problem with that.
I would say that actually, no, maybe it is mostly,
it looks pretty good, like, in isolation. It might be one of those games that is going to be too much of a time sink, but that's just a personal problem on me. But yeah,
I think the estimated play hours are 100 roughly, so it will require a significant investment. But from some
I
people,
love you Koreans, but I'm not doing that. Also, what are these race of not elves, not orcs? There's like this race of people. I don't know what they are. I'll put an image in
there. Yeah, they've thrown everything in there, so it's kind of hard to tell. So.
Like, I'm comparing this to the closest thing I've got to this kind of game, which is ironically Monster Hunter World. But I went into that game not knowing a thing about Monster Hunter. So everything was new. I didn't know who those elves were. I didn't know who those little tiny people were. But Monster Hunter World still managed to feel coherent. Even though you're literally going from different zone to different zone. But then again, the zones all kind of felt like just one big level you could mess around in.
The only Monster Hunter I ever played was on PSP, but I assume the series has been around long enough that it's found its groove. So
it has, yeah. And World was a pretty good... yeah, like, it was a pretty good introduction into the series. But yeah, it's... As you say, this game has a lot of features. It's got a lot of stuff in it. It just might not be put together very well.
Yeah.
And
And
also, it
some,
might just be. Yeah,
trying
go
to
ahead.
remember if it was Shroud. There was some influencer that was basically saying that, or coming to the conclusion that on a fundamental design bedrock foundation, it's just this game cannot be repaired. And I found that very interesting because a control scheme can, if you allow rebinding of keys, there's games that have completely redone, I believe, their menu system when they've been found to be flawed. And so I found that very interesting that it's not only on a UI design level that it's that this individual was finding it flawed, but they were finding it flawed essentially on how just cohesive everything was fitting together. All the puzzle pieces were just not coming together and could not be reconfigured to come together. So, and again, that's
I
where
remember.
I think we need people who actually played it to actually maybe offer a bit more insight into that.
I remember Croshaw saying the problem with the control scheme was because it tried to do so many things, and there's, at least on a controller, only so many buttons. It was everything was doing double, triple duty, and you couldn't get the thing that you wanted to happen in the heat of the moment. So the complexity of the mechanics
Well,
made
it's
the
not even.
controls.
So I'll bring up an example that I know of from Crimson Desert. So there's a helmet that essentially allows the player to see "quote unquote" memories, and this helps in certain problem-solving puzzles when you approach something that looks interesting as a player. You put on the helmet, and you might see characters interacting and be able to hear their dialogue that are suggesting that, oh, there's treasure buried here, there's a door here. Well, and that's potentially a great thing. The problem is that you essentially have to go into your menu. So you're playing out, you're just riding out in the middle of a field, and suddenly you see this thing. You have to stop, open your menu, search for the helmet, equip the helmet like into a hot bar, or or to a sub menu, and then go into that sub menu and then re-equip that helmet, and then there'll be like a little animation of the character putting on the helmet, and the helmet doesn't offer any sort of protective
I
aspects, and
see.
so you have to constantly put it on and take it off, and
In
that's very
isolation, that's a very nice concept, a very nice idea. However, in practice, I can already see how that's going to be an issue, depending on
And
how
it's
like-
much you
Should have
have
been
to do it.
yeah.
Should have
it's
been
like
an
that-
amulet and a wheel option to activate.
Well, hell, even
Yeah,
a contextual menu, like, oh, hey, you're near a menu, a memory. Do you want to use your memory vision? Yes, please.
Or perhaps I think I've seen in some games where you have certain actions, like you can, I think like D&D, for example, you can essentially take the action to scan the room for traps. So even if there was an option to just scan the area for memories, maybe make it less blunt than that, but essentially you quickly put on the helmet, take it off. You don't have to go into any menus. It's just that action of, I want to look for memories, or because in isolation, that could be interesting, and there could be a way to clean that up. But then there's also a lamp that also can reveal hidden secrets, and there's there for Asmongold, for example, he was playing, and his character he had a pirate hat that revealed hidden treasure. Again, that's a very useful ability, but it does not have any protection. So every time he wanted to essentially fight a very tough boss or an individual, he would have to go into his menu, unequip the hat, put on some armored helmet, and it's skills like that. It's that whole design philosophy that I find horribly flawed. Is that maybe offering an ability like that
I'd be like,
on gear that you have to equip?
like Assassin's Creed has the eagle vision, or what do they call it? You know, push the left thumbstick down, click it, and then okay, there's maybe 4 different things in the game, 4 different things that can be highlit, and it starts off with just the one. And as you unlock the other ones, then when you use that same thing, now they also show up in the same scan. So you can just keep rolling into this existing thing and leveling up that thing to highlight new stuff as you go. instead of making it sound funky as
Mhm.
this sounds. But
Yeah.
it's always someone's
Yeah.
first day.
Yeah, it's always someone's first day, but at the same
So
time,
they're making early mistakes because they don't have anyone there to crack a whip and say, "No, great idea, but."
well, this had enough eyes on it, and I've certainly seen enough interest in the game that this is something that should have come out in either early design documents and testing, or even maybe during a beta test, or like essentially, I see we're going viral right now, and I could see the game on screen. I could see where all the UI is, everything that's being done, and that's where there's time yet to reconfigure things. There's no reason that Crimson Desert should have been released in such a state with this much jank. So now, I guess the argument could be it was released in this state because maybe they ran out of development budget, or some committee forced it essentially out the door.
They were locked into a release schedule, and we can always patch it in post.
Maybe. Like, I'm just watching somebody's whole playthrough of it, and there is a lot of stuff. There's a die system. There's merchants who have their own current. They have their own money, so they can't say too much. There is a lot of really good stuff and mechanics in this game, but yeah, as you say, it just has not been done very well. Like, how the how was it? The dying says, yeah, you can't just change the color of your armor, like primary and tertiary, secondary and tertiary color palettes. There is a lot here, and it's a lot of good systems in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they have not been put together very well.
Yeah.
Like, I love that when you go to a merchant, they have this cute little animation, and then they show you their stall, and the thing you want to buy just appears. That's cute. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I just...
No.
It feels like everything...
it's very possible that some of this stuff will be... I think the UI and some of the handling of the content can be fixed, so that jankiness can be removed. So, and after that point, if hopefully the developer intends to do that, to continue take feedback and release updates, that I don't know. So I don't believe the game... It's certainly not a Veilguard. It's certainly not a Concord.
No, it's got potential, certainly.
Yeah.
It could be a No Man's Sky where 7 to 10 years later they've fixed half the problems people had at launch.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to play that game anymore. Can't lose that much time again.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
There's a discussion about games that waste your time. I like games that fill time but not waste it.
I don't want to talk about the ending. Look, I liked the gameplay loop of No Man's Sky. I just didn't like having to get to the ending. That just annoyed me.
I'm resistant going into more comments because we're talking about Crimson Desert, but that definitely...
Like, I'm noticing a few things. What is this? Okay, the magic fast travel thing that kind of looks like you're going through an orange brick road in the Matrix with like digi trees. I'm assuming that's something related to some artifact of the before kingdom, like the one that came before the player was here.
Yeah, so essentially, from my understanding, limited though it may be, essentially the Sky Kingdom, the Sky Ruins, that is considered the Void.
Right.
And there's something of a high technology there. Now, how that high technology interfaces with the below kingdoms, the kingdom on the ground, that whole story, I've not been through the game. I've not looked into the detail there. So it definitely feels again like they tried to mix. It does almost feel like it's going to have one of those shockers that, oh, you're not actually playing this medieval or this knight that is out for revenge or to reconstitute the Greymanes, that they're a faction in the game.
Yeah.
But no, you're actually a player in a game, and you're actually in a digital world. So that travel screen that you mentioned, and some of the other elements in that game really makes it feel. It gives it almost that No Man's Sky. As you start to unwrap the world, you realize, oh, you're in a simulation. So I am wondering
Yeah.
if that's one of the
Because
gimmicks.
that would make sense. That would be a nice twist. A little unsatisfactory for me, but that's just because personal tastes. But yeah, like some of the doors just, how do I put this? They don't open; they just kind of disassemble into blocks and let you walk through them. I'm assuming that was just a save on having a door animation, which is fair. But yeah, I mean, God knows, it would be an interesting concept to have an above kingdom which has all the high tech stuff, and a below kingdom which sees it all as magic,
Mhm.
where anything and everything that comes from the high kingdom is just treated like it's. I don't bloody know. What's a holy artifact from Jesus Christ? All right, the nails that nailed Jesus to the cross. They're treated like that. Every artifact that comes from the high kingdom.
Well, I think you could have several worlds, like essentially Warhammer 40K deals with that. It's essentially you have very advanced technology in a very gothic, grim, dark future.
Yeah.
So where you could literally have floating cities above a feudal landscape. So again, it's how is the story stitched together? How are the elements? How does that all come together? And I'm not seeing it in Crimson Desert. Not enough to interest me to play it. At least I'm not going to
Yeah.
put in 100 hours.
I know what you
to
mean.
unlock
It's
that.
definitely something that, look, in my youth, yeah, sure, 100 hours. Don't look at my Warframe playtime. I could do it, but yeah, these days, hell, even the Witcher 3, I did have to play it in chunks just because of real life obligations. I can't no life games anymore, but yeah, it had a pretty decent playtime.
Mhm.
It felt like, okay, this is going to be like a month of. Oh, wait, you even have little idle animations on docks. You can sit down. It's adorable.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, playtime is a big issue. I guess it's a big thing in East Asia, where some games take forever to get through.
And I do appreciate. So there's a value sale here of people have limited resources, so you may have a lot of time in your youth.
Oh,
You
yeah.
tend to have sometimes a lot of time if there's a summer break or something like that. So being able to say, hey, this game will offer you an unparalleled amount of value for your money, that can be very attractive. Now, if it's all slop and garbage, well, in your youth, you're more able to eat and keep down that slop and garbage. But
Yeah.
as we get older, our free time gets limited. Then there is more of the craving for something like Resident Evil Requiem, where you have a nice 9 to 11 hours of playtime with a tight story, compelling characters, all that stuff. So I do find myself drawn more and more to those limited on rails, tight characters and storylines brought together in a compelling world. So
Yeah, I guess it might just be because this is a separate issue, just in open world games, like in general, where you have a game that legitimately would have been perfectly fine as a linear experience, but because it was made into an open world game, everything just got moved further away. So everything just takes a little more time to do. You got to get over to flag B, C, and D in order to progress the story.
a world that I found to be very compelling, open world wise, and how I thought that the how it unveils, or kind of how it unwraps as you explore each new region, is Enshrouded. I don't know if you've played that. I don't know if anyone else has played Enshrouded. It's still in early access and it's still being developed, but I played it about maybe 9 months to 24, about 2 years ago, probably at this point. It was coming together really well, and it had a good pacing. So it kept you exploring, it kept you unlocking these towers for fast travel, which were kind of puzzles that you had to unlock in and of themselves. Compelling world. Yeah, that, in my mind, did open world right in the sense of the pacing and providing reason for you to want to explore out to these new regions and see new biomes and unlock new puzzles. So, and it was all cohesive. It made sense. So whereas Crimson Desert, if you suddenly go into a new biome and you're dealing with mechs and you're flying on your dragon, it's like, well, okay.
That's why it was.
Like
Okay.
that?
Sorry, what?
The orbs, when you beat the level, they start twitching violently.
Yeah, it's a bug that I need to fix.
Oh God! Like I'm just. Yeah, sorry. What were you saying just before the orb twitching? Because I'm seeing another mechanic they got here, which is a base conquering. Like you could conquer bases in the Dynasty Warrior fashion, which is
right.
Okay. It's another.
Yeah,
It's another good thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. Makes you, unlike in. I'm not gonna complain about other games. They just didn't have the tech at the time. But yeah, in this game, you have enough people on screen to make it feel like a Dynasty Warriors game. There's dudes everywhere. You're taking a fort. It's epic battles. Pretty good. Now, what was I thinking? Oh yeah, you mentioned the mech. Oh yeah, the mechs and the dragon. The mechs and the dragon. There is
These ones are not dying.
some reason. But yeah, for some reason, when a manga plot goes a bit too far, and then I'll use the case of this is Isekai. I was reincarnated as a spider in a dungeon, and it starts off pretty nice. Like, okay, it's a cute little spider trying to make its way through the dungeon. All right, and it's got some RPG elements. That's fine. But then towards like the end of the show, it just goes into this is actually a game system, and we're gonna bring in some like modern day tanks and mechas. And if, as you say, it feels incoherent, and it feels like the author is just trying to throw stuff to try and make it work.
Yeah, there's definitely, when you throw in an entire kitchen sink, everything into a game.
Yeah.
Balancing, power creep, those become issues, and again, it's very difficult to fine tune those elements together. And oftentimes, with development cycles the way they are, it's just not practical to fine tune those things.
Yeah, like I'm noticing some of the combat right now. It's a boss fight with so apparently the forts, they have bosses, which is very cool. But the camera itself is kind of in a fixed position. It doesn't follow the target or the player. So like I can see how it would be a bit janky and confusing if he moves like right to the other side of the player, the camera follows him. Okay, cool. Well, now it's following. I can see why this would be a bit jank when you're trying to actually fight the guy.
Yep. Now, imagine, so there's powers that the character, I'm trying to remember it here. I can't remember the name of the main character. Darn, that's going to annoy me. But anyway, he gets powers as he moves through the void, and these offer new puzzle-solving tools, but they can also be used in fights, which there's essentially something like a force push and a force pull, various aspects. The problem with that, that I've been hearing from other players, is that to activate those powers, sometimes it's multiple button presses, and it's multiple different button presses. So if you're in a fight, you suddenly have to remember all and deploy all these different button presses to do things that are relatively similar, and they should be on the same control scheme, or they should make more of a logical sense. So if you're on a controller and you press maybe the left button controller paddle to block, but then you have a special power to block and do a block punch, you shouldn't then be using like a controls the joystick as well as like an A button or an X button to then do that. So because it just doesn't make logical sense. So that's what I've heard is kind of one of the complaints.
If block is a trigger and you've got a power which is block plus attack, you've also obviously got an attack button. So it should just be hold the block button, then press the attack button.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot. I think gamers, to some extent, there's a lot of us, we've had decades in some cases of gaming. We know what feels right. We know what a good control scheme is, and we know what a bad control scheme is. And so to suddenly go into a game that throws in everything at us and it doesn't feel natural, it's not established. Well,
playing Yakuza on PS2 after playing Grand Theft Auto is like, no, this is none of this works. And thankfully they fixed that for the later generations, where now playing Yakuza just feels like playing any other sandbox. But yeah, here's my completely different control scheme, because, or in their case, it was weird to us, but it was perfectly normal for the market the game came out in. As
the Japanese games do have their own control scheme. You do got to get used to a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little finicky, but otherwise.
What do you expect from a people who read backwards and sideways?
Not much. Gotta be real with you.
I'll lodge a complaint with the fact.
I do like you can whack people with giant poles. That is. But yeah, that'll be my takeaway for this game. There is a lot of cool stuff in here. It's just not put together very well.
Exactly. I think that's the common consensus. So the nice thing is some of those aspects can be, I hate that it tends to be done after release. I'd rather it be refined before release. But in this case, it's like if they manage to pull a No Man's Sky, kind of bring it around, I think people will appreciate that in the end. So
and the point I didn't get to make when I was making that comment was, it's unlikely to happen because No Man's Sky is almost a unicorn in terms of ongoing support for so long later. Most of these games give it 1 or 2 years and then it's just going to drop off. And so there'll be no incentive for them to do it. Maybe, hopefully, they'll learn better for the next version or the next title, whatever you want to call it.
And to me, No Man's Sky is not a success story. What they've done, and again, that's a whole conversation for another day. But the things that they implemented later, the things
we can talk about a game we've all actually played.
Yeah.
Look, the pirate ships were great. I appreciate those things.